Welcome to another episode of Joan Deserves, a musical, where I talk about my efforts to turn the life of Joan of Arc into a full-length animated feature. And thanks again to everyone who participated in the fundraiser. Did way better than we expected to, and Amanda is now hard at work organizing, recruiting singers, booking studio time, so we can have fully professional demos of songs ready when I meet with an executive producer on September 3rd. Meanwhile, I am feeling a renewed weight of responsibility to now take this project as far as I can. There are more people involved, people are invested, and I don't want to let any of you or this project down. So I'm starting to think more seriously about what this conversation with an executive producer might be like. And I started by asking Perplexity, what is an executive producer? Perplexity asked Wikipedia and other sites on the internet. And I think I've been thinking about this all wrong. An executive producer is essentially a businessman. We're not talking about a creative type, where this is not the director who's looking for the next passion project, right? This is a person with budgetary and fiscal responsibilities who is looking to make a wise investment. And so if I show up and I'm like, I feel really good about this project, and other people say it's fun, that's not going to be good enough. We have to make a business case, right, for why we might suppose, given the current market, this could be a viable product. Which is not a way I've been thinking about this project a whole lot, and I'm only just beginning to. There's certainly more thinking and researching I need to do here. It's funny, when I have thought about this meeting, I've kind of tried to figure out what is my lane. I am an expert on this script, on this project, on how it's developed, on what its state is, and he is an expert on the industry, right? And so I should not veer too far out of my lane talking about animation styles and like potential cost cutting techniques. I should just talk about the piece of art I've created. But now I'm thinking of that more expansively. How does this piece of art fit within the larger narrative of 21st century family-friendly films? That's a big question to try to dig into, and I've got to have, I think, a rock-solid answer by the time September 3rd comes around. So here are some of my observations based on very limited research, and more research to come. First of all, I think it is safe to say the market, the people, you all, have an appetite for good family-friendly entertainment. Inside Out 2 just broke all kinds of records for the amount of money it raked in. Even Garfield, which by all accounts is a terrible movie, did really well. So there is this sense that family-friendly entertainment is, a great product or a great product category. But we can't ignore the fact that Inside Out 2 is a sequel, and that Garfield is a well-known piece of IP that's been recycled in cinemas every few decades. This is familiar stuff, right? People are still going to Avengers movies. It is the era of franchises, not of standalone independent films. And I have heard Migration from Illumination did not do great. I need to dig into that more, but that is worrying to me, right? Now, they've been cranking out however many sequels of Despicable Me and doing fine, but they try to branch out and do something original, and it falls flat. That's worrisome. But actually, and you can tell me if this is crazy or not, but I take comfort in how angry people are about Wish. Wish is not only a box office disappointment, but a huge just cultural disappointment. People wanted something from Disney, and Disney gave them something that was not the thing they wanted, and people are up in arms about it. There are so many YouTube videos of people who are angry and disappointed, and there are even like a lot. There's like a whole genre of YouTube videos now that's, if I had made Wish, this is how I would have done it, and this would have been better, right? We're not talking about just how it should have ended, or a pitch meeting or whatever that one's called, making fun of this movie. We were talking about just the normal denizens of the internet up in arms, feeling somehow betrayed, and trying to fix the problem and even understand the problem. And here is why I find hope in that. I think what Disney promised us with Wish was something nostalgic, something new and original, not part of any franchise, not a sequel, but something that would feel like home, something that would feel like childhood, uh, for the many, many millions of people, billions of people maybe, who grew up watching Disney movies. And it didn't deliver on that for a variety of reasons. It kind of has this 2D aesthetic, but done kind of poorly, right? And this 2D aesthetic, ever since Spider-Verse, has been a thing, right? Like, look at Ninja Turtles. Look at even like Mitchell's versus Machines, where you have true 2D elements mixed into a 3D film. I was really surprised when I saw Inside Out 2. There's like a stop motion segment in there's a fully 2D character, which is something they could have done in Inside Out 1 in the abstract thought room, but they didn't. They kept that 3D. And so I feel like 2D is sort of having a moment here. And I have often said, if I get my way, I would love for this to be hand drawn 2D animation, digital, not cell animation, but that classic look. And I think if Disney had made Wish 2D and kept everything else the same, they would have got a little less hatred. It's still kind of a lousy movie, and there are still things people would have complained about with the characters and the plotting and the music. But I think because they only went halfway on the 2D thing, that bothered people, and people are nitpicking that animation like crazy, even though it's okay animation in a lot of ways. It is defensible, but it is not what people were hoping for. Um, and then the music, people complain that it sounds like modern pop music. It doesn't feel like a musical, and the characterizations. There's all sorts of things people say. So in that context, even though Joan of Arc is not a familiar childhood story for a lot of people, um, if we could really nail the aesthetic, if we could give it that classic 2D look, if the music could feel like a musical and follow a lot of the structural precedent set by the Renaissance with like I Want songs and these sorts of things, um, then I think we're already off to a good start, because I think what we've learned from Wish is that people miss that. Um, I mean, Disney has done well. I love Encanto. Frozen, of course, a huge success. Moana, kind of in that same vein. Tangled kind of kicked off this whole new Renaissance era that we're in. Um, but at the same time, there's nothing that really feels like the Renaissance. Frozen had great songs, but the parents were all kind of like, the story doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Uh, and Encanto is wonderful in a lot of ways. I called it a perfect musical, but it still feels really different from those bygone days. And so I wonder if there's something there. I think, if we look at the changing styles of animation, there seems to be a hunger in the industry to produce things that have a 2D feel. And among consumers, there does seem to be this appetite for anything nostalgic. It is hard and scary to put a fully original film out there that's not tied to any sort of franchise, especially. I think it's probably a little scary for an independent studio to make an independent film that is not only not tied to anything out in the market, but a story that can be very controversial, and that is often thought of being dark and not geared at children. And so those are things I'm going to have to address too. And I have ideas on that I've shared here before, but the thing I'm really thinking about is what is the market telling us about what people want from movies? What are the movies that are doing really well? Um, Certainly, Deadpool and Wolverine is doing really well, and breaking records set by Joker. The era of the R-rated movie has the blockbuster R-rated movie, R-rated blockbuster, has perhaps arrived. That there's that, but that doesn't mean family friendly is on the way out. We're still seeing lots of money spent there, and I think if we can earn the trust of parents like me, who might be willing to take a gamble and bring their kids to the movie theater, buy a ticket for each one of their children. Let's be honest, all one or two of their children, because that's what most people have. I have four. I don't know if I've told you this, but I think we can appeal to those folks, because I am one of those folks, and this all appeals to me. And as I talk to my peers and my friends, it appeals to them too. I know it's a small sample, but I think I can turn this into a viable pitch of, I am not a pitch, but like positioning for this piece as a product. Would love to know your thoughts on whether any of this makes sense, if there's something I'm overlooking. There are more questions I suspect this executive producer will have for me, but I will discuss those in a future episode.